The room was cold. Not the kind of cold from weather, but the kind that sinks into bones. Metal walls surrounded the girl, silver and slick, humming with energy. Lights blinked on the ceiling. They never stopped. And neither did the pain. LT. Mira Ellis was strapped to a steel table. Her arms and legs were held down with heavy restraints. She had stopped struggling hours ago. Maybe days. Time didn't matter anymore. The pain was the only thing that stayed. Her uniform was gone. Her skin was marked with long, thin cuts. Some were healing strangely fast. Others were fresh, bleeding slowly. Tubes were plugged into her arms, pumping strange fluids into her body. Needles pierced her spine. Something was attached to the base of her skull, across the room, strange. Creatures watched her, tall and slim. The aliens had skin like stretched stone. Their black eyes blinked sideways. They never spoke aloud. Instead, they used soundless waves. Mira could feel their thoughts, even when she didn't want to. "Is near the limit," one of them thought. "Begin final sequence," another replied. They had no names, or maybe they did, but Mira couldn't pronounce them. She'd called them the Zyrans. Cold, precise, inhuman. One of them approached. It held a thin, glowing rod. Mira knew. What that meant? Her muscles tensed, already preparing for more pain. The rod touched her temple. White-hot agony flooded her mind. She screamed. Her voice bounced off the metal walls, echoing over and over until it felt like the room itself was screaming with her. Her body arched against the restraints. Blood vessels in her eyes burst. The edges of her vision turned black. And then, silence. Her head dropped to the side. Her body fell still. The machines around her beeped once long and low. The heart monitor flatlined. Mira Ellis was dead. For a moment, the room seemed calmer. The aliens didn't celebrate. They didn't mourn. They simply wrote notes on their pads, if they were even pads at all. Others hovered over her body, scanning her with long, twisting tools. Tissue still viable. Stage 2. Prepare for organ removal. A robotic arm moved down from the ceiling. It extended a scalpel toward her chest. Then it stopped. One of the machines blinked red. A faint blip on the heart monitor. Just one another, then another. Beep, beep, beep. The aliens turned, heads twitching fast. Another dropped its tool. Mira opened her eyes. Not slowly. Not weakly. Her eyes snapped open, glowing faintly blue. Not human blue, something else, something deeper. Her fingers twitched. Her hand pulled against the restraints. Metal groaned. She blinked once. Twice. Then sat up. The straps tore like paper. The alien closest to her reached for a device. She grabbed its wrist, tried to pull away. Too late. Mira squeezed. The sound was sharp bones breaking. Alien let out a strange choking noise, then silence. She stood. Blood ran down her leg, but she didn't seem to notice. Her body moved stiffly like she was learning how to use it again. Her eyes scanned the room. The remaining aliens backed away. "Where am I?" she asked, her voice hoarse and dry. No one answered. She stepped down from the table. The floor was ice cold, but she didn't react. A buzzing started in her. Ears low at first, then louder. She clutched her head. Memories not her own rushed through her brain. Alien stars, unknown languages, a city floating above fire. A war long before humans ever walked Earth. And a name. Mira Ellis, being spoken by a voice she didn't recognize. She stumbled, grabbed the wall, and steadied herself. Her breathing was fast, sharp. Her veins glowed faintly under her skin. The tubes and wires in her arms fell out, smoking. Behind her, the corpse of the alien still lay broken on the floor. Another alien stepped forward, holding a containment wand. It sent out a crackling wave. Mira turned slowly, eyes narrowed. The wave hit her. No. She screamed again, but this time not from pain. This time it was rage. The energy wave bent around her like wind around a stone. Her feet dug into the ground. She reached out her hand and the alien flew backward, slamming into the wall with a sickening crunch. The lights in the lab flickered. Sparks rained down from the ceiling. Mira stared at her hand, shocked. She hadn't meant to do that. "What did you do to me?" she whispered. No answer came, but she was done waiting. Shh. She walked to the nearest panel. A glowing blue interface pulsed under her fingers. The alien language on the screen made sense to her now. She read it like it was her own. "Ship map," she said aloud. A hologram appeared, showing levels, corridors, and escape routes. She saw a path one that led to a shuttle bay. She didn't hesitate. Alarms began to blare. Red lights flashed as she ran down the hall. More aliens appeared, holding weapons. She didn't stop. Her mind burned. Her muscles were fire. She reached out and doors burst open before she even touched them. Bullets or beams, whatever they were, raced past her. She moved faster. Faster than any human should. Her feet barely touched the ground. Down one corridor. Left, then right. Another squad blocked her path. She raised her hand and focused. The walls shook. The floor cracked. The aliens flew backward, slammed into each other like rag dolls. She didn't know how she was doing it, but she knew why. They had killed her. Now she was taking something back. She reached the shuttle bay. A sleek, black craft sat on the deck. No guards. Not yet. She ran to it, her fingers already knowing what buttons to press. The hatch opened. She climbed inside, sat at the controls, and started the engine. A voice in her head whispered alien words. She spoke them aloud, and the ship responded. The bay doors opened. The Zyran mothership floated above a dead moon, surrounded by stars. As the shuttle took off, turrets turned toward her. She twisted the controls. The shuttle rolled, dived, and vanished into the black. For a few moments, there was only silence. Inside the shuttle, Mira leaned back, breathing hard. Her face was pale, her lips cracked, but her hands were steady. Her mind was clear. She tapped a control pad. A message screen lit up. She stared into the lens. Her face, bruised and bloodied, appeared on screen. "This is LT Mira Ellis," she said slowly. "They took me. They broke me. They killed me. But I came back." She paused. "They're not just studying us, they're testing us. And I think they're afraid." Now, she hit send. The message blasted across space toward Earth, toward home. The shuttle drifted through space, dark and quiet. Stars filled the window, but Mira didn't look at them. She sat in the pilot's chair, her eyes closed, hands gripping the armrests. She was breathing hard. Her chest hurt. Her head felt too full, too loud inside her mind. Something was moving thoughts that weren't hers. Memories she had never lived, voices she didn't recognize. Words and languages she had never learned, but she understood them now. The ship beeped. A soft, warning tone. She was off course. She opened her eyes. Her reflection in the dark glass made her freeze. Her eyes glowed faint blue. Faint, but growing brighter. Not natural. Not human. She leaned closer. Her pupils had changed. Thin lines circled them like ripples in water. She touched her cheek. Her skin felt warm. It's almost vibrating. She whispered, "What did they put in me?" No answer. Only silence. Then pain, sudden and sharp. She gasped and grabbed her head. Something behind her eyes burned. Images flashed so fast she could barely see them. A great alien city with towers of crystal. A dying sun surrounded by rings of machines. A battle in space. Thousands of ships turning to ash. And a symbol. Glowing red. Like a star cracking in half, she screamed. The pain faded. She dropped to her knees, shaking. Her hands were sparking faint energy. Fingertips were leaving light trails on the floor. She stared at them. I'm not me anymore. Then, the ship's alert buzzed. Radar signal. Something was coming. She climbed back to the controls. Her fingers moved without thinking, pressing buttons she didn't know existed. The screen showed a shape fast, closing in, a Zyran hunter drone. She cursed under her breath. The ship was small, no weapons, no defenses. She was too far from Earth. The drone appeared in front of her ship, long and black, shaped like a knife. It moved like a shark in water. Then it spoke. Not with words, but with thoughts. Mira could hear them, like claws scraping across her brain. You should not be alive. She gritted her teeth. Yeah, well, I am. Return to us. Surrender. Or your death will be final this time. She smiled bitterly. You already tried that. Didn't work. The drone fired. A blue beam ripped across space. Her ship shook. Panels sparked. Alarms screamed. Mira grabbed the controls. She turned hard left. The ship spun, metal groaned. Another beam passed inches from the hull. One more hit and she was done. She reached out with her hand instinct. Mind filled with rage, the drone fired again. She screamed and threw her hand forward, and something impossible happened. The beam stopped, froze in midair, crackled, then bent. Then it fired back, straight into the drone. The hunter exploded in a flash of blue and silver. Mira sat back, stunned. Her breathing fast, heart pounding. I did that. She looked at her hands again. I really did that. The ship was damaged. Systems were failing. Life support was fading. She needed help. She tapped into the emergency beacon. But instead of sending out a standard distress call, her fingers typed something different. A signal. A code. She didn't know how she knew it. But it felt right. The ship responded. Sent a pulse through space, sharp and narrow, aimed at a very specific location. Deep orbit near Saturn. Some part of her remembered it. A safe zone. A hidden human satellite used for deep space recon, abandoned for years. But she knew it wasn't empty. The ship changed course. Hours passed. Mira didn't sleep. She couldn't. Every time she closed her eyes, the memories came back. Not just hers, but others. The aliens she'd touched, the ones she killed, the ones she threw across the lab. She had pieces of them now, like echoes. She remembered their names, their fears, their orders, and she remembered one voice deeper than the rest. A commander. If she reaches Earth, humanity becomes unstoppable. They feared her. Not because she escaped, but because she changed. When the shuttle reached the orbit of Saturn, the hidden satellite came into view. A dark, quiet shape floating in shadow, no lights, no signal. But Mira knew it would let her in. She docked. The airlock opened with a hiss. Inside, the station was still. Dust hung in the air like mist. Lights flickered weakly. Old human tech. Cold. In quiet, she walked slowly through the halls, her footsteps echoing. Then, the lights turned on. Sensors recognized her. Welcome, LT Mira Ellis. She blinked. How does it know me? In the control room, old screens flickered to life. Logs loaded. Files opened. Mira sat down. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. Faster than they should, she accessed logs that had been locked for over a decade. A project name appeared. Project SDRs. Human experiment. Secret buried. She opened the first file. Video played. A man in uniform stood in front of the camera. Admiral Jonas Rourke. He's dead for years. He spoke with urgency. If this message is being seen, then one of them survived. Mira leaned forward. We didn't start Project Starseed to win a war, Rourke said. We did it because we were losing one. We discovered alien DNA embedded in ancient human fossils, traces of a race long gone. We think we were made. Looked tired. Not just made, designed. Like seeds. Waiting for the right time to bloom. Some humans were born with markers, only a few. You were one of them. The video froze. Mira's hand trembled. They had known all along her death. It triggered. Something in her DNA. Something ancient. Something built to survive, to adapt. She wasn't a weapon. She was a message. Her comm system buzzed. A new signal. Faint. Human origin. A rescue team. Responding to her earlier broadcast, she could hear their voices. Ellis, is that you? Are you alive? She smiled. Yeah, she said softly. I'm here. And I'm not the only one. She looked out the window at the stars. More were coming, and this time, humanity would be ready. The Zyran warship floated in deep space, silent and still, like a sleeping predator. But inside, it was not calm. Sirens wailed, lights flashed red. Energy signatures spiked across the ship's core in the command chamber. The Zyran high strategist watched a screen pulsing with static. His pale gray hands trembled slightly. For his kind, that was rare. The screen showed the girl, human designation, LT, Mira Ellis. She had died. They had proof. And yet, she lived again. Not just alive, changed. Too fast, too strong, too connected to things she shouldn't understand. Humans called it resurrection. The Zyrans called it a failure of control. The strategist turned to his second in command, a smaller Zyran with markings across his face. Their communication was silent but tense. She activated. Experiment crossed into phase 3. It's impossible, the second replied. No human was meant to survive that phase. The strategist narrowed his eyes. Then she is no longer human. Behind them, a massive vault opened. Inside, a long black capsule rose from the floor. Cold mist hissed around it. The strategist touched the control panel. Initiate Zyran Protocol 0. You would deploy the Reapers? The second asked. Alarmed on a single human? Not human, the strategist said. A signal. If she reaches Earth, the others will wake. The second didn't argue. The Zyrans had seen it before, long ago, and the ancients still walked the stars. There were warnings etched in dying languages. Beware the seeds of flame. When they rise, empires fall. Mira was one of them now. The strategist activated a hologram of the solar system. A red dot blinked near Saturn. Her location? Track her. Terminate her, he said. Moments later, 3 long black ships detached from the warship, sleek, silent, and shaped like blades. The Zyran Reaper's elite kill drones, designed to eliminate awakened threats before they could spread. They vanished into slipstream space. Back on the abandoned satellite near Saturn, Mira sat alone in the control chamber. Her mind felt sharper. Now her fear duller. She had changed, and she was starting to accept it. On one of the screens, Earth rotated in the distance. Still far. Still out of reach. But she wasn't alone anymore. Her message had reached. Earth. A human stealth ship was already en route. Ada. For hours, she leaned back in the chair, trying to breathe. Her body was still sore. Her fingers twitched, sometimes energy. Sparks dancing over her skin. But she was stable. For now, then. Something shifted. The air in the station felt heavier, like pressure building in her ears. The screen flickered. A deep warning tone hummed. Inbound. Objects. Fast. Unknown signature. Mira stood and walked to the observation window. At first, she saw nothing. Just stars. Then she saw the black shapes moving without light, without heat. 3 of them Reapers, she whispered. She didn't know how she knew their name, but she did. They weren't just drones. They were executioners. Her executioners. She didn't wait. She ran through the station's narrow corridors, past rusted bulkheads. And frozen doors? The station had no weapons, no shields. It was just a shell, but it had something else. In one of the lower bays sat an old drop-pad last resort escape system, designed to launch toward Earth's orbit in case of emergency. It was slow. It had no defenses. But it was better than staying. She reached the pod bay and hit the unlock code. The doors opened with a scream of metal. The pod was still there, dust-covered but intact. She climbed in and slammed the hatch shut. Outside, the Reapers reached the station. They didn't dock. They tore through it. The ceiling split. Beams fell. Metal screamed. As the first Reaper sliced into the station's core, Mira hit the launch. The pod blasted downward, away from the wreckage. She could see the Reapers through the tiny window, black shapes twisting in space, turning. To follow her, her pod spun. No guidance, just gravity and fire. Inside, she was being crushed by force. Her skin burned. Her eyes watered, but she didn't scream. She focused. She reached out with her mind, and then she felt them. The Reapers. Not as machines, but as minds. Simple, brutal, cold. Still connected. She touched them and pushed. The first Reaper jolted in midspace. Its path veered. Systems glitched. Crashed into debris from the station and exploded. One down, her nose bled. Her hands shook. The second Reaper moved faster. Fired. The pod's tail was hit. Alarms blared. She was spinning again. She growled in frustration. Her power was still new, still wild. She wasn't a soldier anymore. She was something else. Fingers dug into the console. Another blast rocked the pod. Warning, hull breach. Suddenly her cum lit up. LT Ellis, this is Earth Stealth Ship Valor. We have your signal. Approaching fast. Relief flooded her. Get a lock on my pod, she shouted. 2 Reapers inbound. One's down. The other's close. The voice replied, understood, engaging in 30 seconds. Mira braced herself. The second Reaper dove toward her. But before it could fire again, a beam of pure plasma tore across space. The Valar decloaked, a sleek black human vessel designed for speed and stealth, now lit up with gunfire. Its turrets spun and fired again. The Reaper twisted to dodge. Too late. It exploded in a blast of shattered metal. The third Reaper hung back, watching, learning then. It turned and vanished into Schlipsturm, coward Mira thought. But she knew. It wasn't retreating. It was reporting. The pod was pulled into the Valor's bay. A hiss of steam. Clamps clicked. The hatch opened. Armed Marines waited for her, rifles raised. Then they lowered their weapons. One of them stepped forward. Lieutenant, he said softly. You're really alive. She stepped out, weak, barefoot, eyes glowing. Not just alive, she said. And Earth isn't ready for what's coming. The soldier stared at her hands. What are you? She looked at them too. Then she said, something they didn't expect. Far away, in the deep black, the final Reaper reached the Zyran warship. Inside the chamber, the strategist watched the incoming report. He read the data. He saw the power. Levels. He saw her speak through the Reaper's broken system. For a moment, her voice echoed through the ship like thunder. Tell your masters Earth isn't sleeping anymore. The strategist closed the feed. Begin planetary measures. He said war has begun. The Valar entered Earth orbit under full stealth mode. Its hull shimmered with light-bending tech, making it nearly invisible to the naked eye. But Mira wasn't interested in the view. She stood inside the ship's medbay, staring at her reflection. Again, her hair was tangled. Her skin was pale. Her eyes, still glowing. They hadn't stopped since the Reapers. Her hands pulsed with soft blue light. She didn't even have to try anymore. The energy was always there, now, waiting, buzzing, wanting. A medic stood nearby, watching her from a distance. He had scanned her 3 times, taken blood samples, tried to run diagnostics. The machines kept crashing. She's rewriting your systems, the ship's captain said, stepping into the room. Your energy field is corrupting our tech. I'm not doing it on purpose, Mira replied. The captain studied her. He was older, sharp-eyed, and cautious. I believe you. But the truth is, we don't understand what you are anymore. Mira turned to him. I'm still me, are you? She didn't answer. The captain stepped closer. You've been gone for 2 weeks, Lieutenant? Everyone thought you were dead. Then your signal pops up near Saturn. You down to Reapers with your mind, and send a direct warning to Earth's command. Warn them because I saw what's coming, she said. I felt it. The Zyrans didn't just want to study us. They wanted to stop something from waking up. Something in us. He frowned. What exactly us? Mira said. Humans. We're not what we think we are. We've been asleep for thousands of years, but they've known the truth the whole time. She reached out and touched the scanner next to her. It shorted out instantly, sparks flying. The captain took a step. Back. You're saying we're weapons? He asked. No, not weapons, Mira said slowly. We're the warning. Before he could ask more, the ship's alarm blared. The captain snapped to attention. Bridge report, a voice came. Through the coms, multiple Zyran ships just entered the system. Small fleet, interceptors, and troop carriers. They're not cloaked. They're coming in loud, the captain muttered. Mira's face went cold. They know I made it to Earth, she said. They're coming to finish the job. The captain looked at her. Then we land fast. The Valor descended through Earth's atmosphere, breaking past the cloud line and speeding toward a hidden military site deep in the Rocky Mountains. As the ship lowered into a landing bay, Mira looked out the window. She hadn't seen Earth since the mission that got her captured. Trees, snow, sky. It felt like a different world. She stepped off the ramp with the captain beside her. Soldiers snapped to attention. Scientists and high-ranking officers waited. Near a reinforced blast door, one of them, a woman in a dark uniform, stepped forward. LT Ellis. Ellis. Arth Defense Command. You've caused quite a stir. Mira nodded slightly. It's good to be back. Mostly Commander Reyes gestured to the door. Come inside. There's something you need to see. They walked through secure checkpoints, down into the mountain. At last, they reached a private lab lined with holograms, screens, and glowing panels. One wall displayed Mira's face, rotating beside her DNA sequence only. It wasn't normal. Her genome looked like a lattice of strange, shifting code. Your DNA is mutating, Reyes said, but it's not random. It's following a pattern. A language? Alien? The captain asked. No, Reyes said. It's older, pre-human. This language isn't in our database. But parts of it match carvings found on Mars. Mira raised an eyebrow. Carvings. Reyes turned to a screen. It showed ancient ruins, half buried in red sand. Pillars with strange symbols, circular writing. They were dismissed as natural formations, Reyes said, but that's what we always do when something doesn't fit. Mira stared at the symbols. She could read them. She didn't know how, but she could. They say, Guardians sleep until flame returns. Reyes looked at her. You're the flame, aren't you? Mira didn't answer because she wasn't sure. Hours. Past news of the Zyran fleet spread fast. 10 ships, small capital vessels, enough to strike, not conquer. They weren't invading Earth. They were coming for her. Reyes gathered the Defense Council in a secure chamber. Mira sat at the center, surrounded by generals and intelligence heads. We have 2 options, one general said. Turn her over or fight. No, Reyes replied. She's one of us, the captain added. She saved us from those Reapers. We owe her more than fear. An older general slammed a fist on the table. She's a walking energy bomb. What if she turns on us? Mira stood slowly. Her voice was calm. If I wanted to turn on you, I would have done it already. Silence. Then she added, You need to stop thinking of me as a danger. I'm a signal, a sign. The Zyrans fear what's inside us because they know what happens next. Reyes leaned forward. What happens next? Mira looked at each of them. Her eyes glowed brighter than ever. Others like me are going to wake up. And just then, the room shook. Alarms screamed. A security officer shouted through the intercom. The Zyrans have entered lower orbit. 2 ships are breaking formation, heading straight for our location. Get her to secure containment, a general barked. No, Mira said. Let me meet them. Reyes turned to her. You want to go outside while they attack? I don't think they'll fire if I show myself, Mira said. They want to study me. Control me. I'm bait. Use me. Reyes hesitated, then nodded. Suit her up. Out. Mira stood alone on the snowy field outside the mountain base. Storm clouds rolled above. Searchlights from the mountain lit the trees. Around her, far above, the Zyran ships hovered black triangles against the sky. One of them broke from the clouds and slowly descended. Stopping 100 feet above the ground, it didn't fire. It waited. Then a platform lowered from its underside. A single Zyran figure floated down, tall, pale, wearing ceremonial armor. Mira walked forward, her breath fogging in the cold air. They stood 20 feet apart. No one else moved. No one breathed. Then it spoke, not with a voice, but through her. "Mind you are broken," Mira answered aloud. "I'm reborn. You carry something that does not belong to your kind." Mira stepped closer. "That's where you're wrong. It was always ours. You just buried it." The Zyran tilted its head. "Return with us. We can fix you. I'm not yours to fix. Then you will burn." Mira's eyes flared. "So will you." She raised her hand, so did the Zyran. Energy crackled in the air, blue versus red. The ground trembled. Trees bent. The snow whipped into the sky. And just before the clash, a second energy surge exploded behind them. From the mountain, a soldier shouted, "We've got another one someone else is activating." Mira turned sharply. The Zyran looked shaken. She smiled coldly. "Told you." She said, "I'm not the only one. In the war, I had just begun." The mountain shook beneath their feet. From deep inside the Earth Defense Base, lights flashed, sirens wailed. The air shimmered with static electricity. Something ancient, something powerful, was waking up. Mira turned from the Zyran, her eyes wide. It wasn't just her anymore. Another one had awakened, and Earth would never be the same again. The Zyran stepped back, clearly shaken. Its long fingers curled inwards. Its red energy faded. It didn't speak. It didn't move. And Mira stared at it. "You thought I was alone? You were wrong." The Zyran turned its head, looking toward the mountain. Then it vanished, teleported back to the ship in a blink of light. The alien craft lifted off and disappeared into the clouds. Ada stood. In the silence, the snow swirling around her boots. Her heart pounded. She turned and ran back toward the base. Inside, chaos filled the corridors. Soldiers were shouting. Scientists ran past with scanners and medkits. Commander Reyes met Mira. At the entrance, "We have a situation," Reyes said, breathless. "Medlab 6. One of our recruits, BFC Yolan Ross, collapsed during the alert. His body started glowing. He's changing." Mira didn't hesitate. "Take me to him." They moved quickly through the lower levels. When they reached the lab, Mira saw the glow from down the hall. It pulsed like a heartbeat, golden, warm, and strange. Inside the med lab, 3 guards pointed their rifles at a figure sitting on the floor. It was a young man, early 20s, curled in the corner, clutching his head. His veins glowed with light. Symbols had appeared on his arms, etched into the skin like fire under glass. "Stand down," I shouted at the guards. They hesitated. She stepped forward slowly. "Yellen," she said softly. "Can you hear?" "Me." The young man lifted his head. His eyes were gold. Not like hers. Not blue. Different. "Everything's loud," he whispered. "I can hear things that aren't here. I see stars, but they're not ours." His voice shook. "I don't know what's happening to me." Mira knelt beside him. "You're waking up. Just like I did." "You died?" "No," he said. "I was sleeping. I had dreams. But they weren't mine." She nodded. "It's not a death trigger, then," she said to herself. "There's more than one way to activate." Commander Reyes stepped forward cautiously. "Is he dangerous?" Yolan looked up. "I don't want to hurt anyone." "He's not dangerous," Mira said. "He's a signal. Just like me." Suddenly alarms blared again. A new voice on the loudspeaker. Zyran ships approaching major cities. Multiple drop pods inbound. Civilian areas are being evacuated. Mira stood. Her eyes narrowed. "They're not hunting me anymore," she said. "They're hunting all of us." The Zyrans weren't here to fight a war. Not yet. They were here to prevent an awakening. The moment Mira returned to Earth, she had become a spark, and now more were lighting up. Ports flooded in. A woman in Berlin collapsed and woke up with glowing skin. A teenage girl in India spoke an alien language in her sleep. A soldier in a South American jungle survived a headshot and healed in minutes. Across the world, people with dormant alien DNA were beginning to shift. Some slowly, some violently. The Earth Defense Council called it rebirth syndrome. But Mira knew better. "It's not a sickness," she said in the briefing room. "It's evolution." Commander Reyes paced. "How many people are affected?" "We don't know yet," the captain said.
Oh.
"Only those with a certain genetic." Marker. We've run tests on our own troops. Rough estimate, maybe 1 in 10 million. That's still hundreds of people, Reyes said. All of them waking up. All of them unstable. She turned to Mira. We need your help. We need to train them, control them, Mira said. But I'll try. Reyes stepped closer. And if they can't be controlled, Mira met her eyes. Then you protect them. Because if the Xyrans get to them first, they'll either kill them more, turn them against us. Yellen sat on a bench in the observation room. He watched his hands, still glowing faintly. Mira joined him. Everything's different now, he said. Yeah, she replied. I know. I saw a tower, in the middle of a burning sky, with voices. They were calling my name, but not in a human voice. Mira nodded. I saw that too. You think we're weapons? I think we're warnings, she said. And the Xyrans are terrified of what's coming. He looked up. What is coming? Mira didn't answer, because part of her was afraid she already knew. Above Earth, the Xyran fleet regrouped. Inside the command ship, the high strategist met with new arrivals, figures taller and more armored than any seen before. Their bodies were wrapped in black metal. Their eyes glowed red. They had no names. The Xyrans called them null priests. They were not scientists. They were cleaners. It's meant for extinction work. The high strategist knelt before them. That's it. The signals are spreading. She has returned. Others are awakening. One of the priests turned slowly. Then we begin the next phase. Planetary containment? No. Total reset. The strategist froze. But the humans will be given one chance. Obey. Or be erased. Back on Earth, Mira stood on a rooftop, looking up at the stars. More energy was rising every hour. Her senses were wide. Open. She could feel them other humans like her glowing in the dark corners of the planet. The voices were getting louder. The past was coming back, and the future was rushing toward her like fire. Commander Reyes walked up beside her. We just intercepted a new Xyran broadcast, she said quietly. It wasn't encrypted. They wanted us to hear it. Mira nodded. Play it. Reyes held up a small speaker. The Xyran voice poured out. This is your only warning. Return the altered ones. Surrender the reborn, or Earth will fall. Silence followed. Mira took a deep breath. Then she said, let them come, because she wasn't afraid anymore. She was ready. The underground base was quieter now, but it wasn't Pasit. It was pressure. The kind of silence that comes before the first gunshot, or the first death. Mira stood in the main command room, staring at the giant screen on the far wall. It showed the Earth from orbit, blue, green, alive, but something was wrong. New signals were popping up all over the planet. One in Alaska, one deep in the Sahara, one in the ocean floor near the Philippines. Commander Reyes spoke from behind her. We've confirmed over 50 rebirth events worldwide. Some are stable, some not. Mira didn't turn. Some aren't. Ready? No, Reyes said. But it's spreading fast. Mira stepped away from the screen. It's not just Earth reacting. It's the whole system. Reyes followed her. What do you mean? Mira led her to the lab, where scientists were scanning her DNA again. They'd stopped trying to control it. Now they were just trying to understand it. The head researcher pulled up a hologram of Mira's genome. It pulsed with patterns. Symbols, rhythm. It's not just genetic code, the researcher said. It's a message. A message from who? Reyes asked. Mira stared at the patterns. Not who, she said softly. The Mars archive had always been classified, decades ago. During the first human landing on Mars, a group of engineers discovered something beneath the Valles Marineris trench far. Older than any rock on the planet, they buried the discovery, filed it under black level clearance now. Mira stood in a secure room, watching that original footage for the first time. The video showed a cave dark and deep, a wall covered in glowing lines, still alive after thousands of years. At the center was a symbol, a flame inside a circle, branching lines like a tree. It was the same symbol Mira had seen in her dreams. the one she had drawn without meaning. 2, the one that sometimes burned faintly into her skin when her powers surged. The voice on the old recording said, "We believe these markings are not Martian. They predate the planet's current surface. Someone built this structure long before Mars was dead. They left a warning." The next slide translated the glyphs. "They made us as seeds. Carriers of the first flame, when the stars fell silent, we were sent to sleep. To wait and to rise again when the sky turned black." Mira felt cold. She understood now. "We were created," she said. "Not by the Zyrans. By someone else. Older. A race long gone." Reyes looked at her. "So the Zyrans found us and got scared. They didn't create rebirth," Mira said. "They tried to stop it." She touched the screen. "We're not humans with powers. We're part of something bigger. A last defense system from an ancient war." Reyes stepped back, thinking hard. "So these ancients made us to survive extinction." "Extinction," Mira replied. "We weren't just meant to survive. We were meant to wake up when the galaxy fell into silence. Now it's waking," Reyes whispered. "Through you." Meanwhile, far above Earth, the Zyran command ship spun in orbit. Inside its core chamber, the Null Priests stood in a triangle formation. Their hands glowed with black fire. They were not pleased. The High Strategist knelt before them again. "The Earthlings will not surrender the reborn." The lead priest raised a hand. "Then we bring forward the star code," gas echoed around. The chamber, the strategist looked up, shaken. "That would trigger a system-wide memory burst. If they survive, they will either become gods or destroy themselves. And if they fail, then the galaxy remains quiet." The priests began chanting, activating a dormant beacon that had been placed in Earth's orbit millions of years ago, hidden, waiting, silent, until now. On Earth, Mira collapsed. No warning. One moment she was speaking to Reyes, the next on the ground, seizing her body glowing with fire. Her eyes rolled back. She screamed. Soldiers rushed forward, but Reyes shouted, "Don't touch her!" The lights in the base flickered. Machines crashed. A pulse burst from Mira's chest, knocking every electronic system offline. Then, silence. She opened her eyes. They weren't blue anymore. They were white. Pure light. And her voice was not hers alone. She stood slowly, taller, somehow stronger. And she spoke. "We are the Flame Keepers. Long have we waited. This shell, this Myris, the first signal. We have returned because the stars have gone silent again. The galaxy is not dead, but it is fading." People around her froze. Reyes stared in awe. "You are children of the seed. Each of you. Buried deep within is a code, choice. If you rise together, the silence ends. If you fail, the dark returns forever." Then the light faded. Mira fell to her knees. Her body returned to normal. She was breathing hard. Her eyes dimmed. What just happened?" she asked, her voice her own again. Reyes knelt beside her. "You weren't alone in there, I felt." "A million voices," Mira whispered. Ancient, tired, but still watching. She looked up. "They gave us the gift, but now it's our turn to use it." Later that night, Mira stood outside the base, watching the sky. The stars above her were the same, but now she saw them differently. They weren't just lights, they were echoes, memories, and warnings. Commander Reyes joined her, holding a datapad. "We've located 27 new rebirths," she said. "Some are stable, some need help." "I'll train them," Mira said. "We don't have time to wait." Reyes looked at her and the others. Mira sighed. "They'll either rise with us or burn trying." Reyes hesitated. "You think Earth is ready?" "No," Mira said. "But we don't get to wait." "For ready." She turned her glowing eyes to the sky. "We are the firewall. If we break, the galaxy goes dark again." Far above, something in orbit pulsed once, then went silent. The Zyrans were watching. and the final test was almost here. The training field behind the mountain base was full of movement. Dozens of people, young, old, military, civilians, stood in rows, learning to control the strange new powers inside them. Moved objects with a glance, some lit fires in their palms. Others saw things no one else could see. They were the awakened rebirths, and Mira was their leader. She moved through them with calm focus, guiding a girl who couldn't stop glowing, helping a boy whose hands sparked when he got nervous. She remembered how it had been for her in the beginning, confusing, painful, loud. Now she was stronger, not just physically, but inside. She felt clearer, sharper, but something was coming, something terrible. She could feel it like a storm just over the hill. Commander Reyes stood at the edge of the field, watching. How many are stable? She asked Mira as she approached. Maybe 30, Mira said. We're losing more than we're saving. Reyes sighed. Any new deaths? Mira nodded slowly. One, her heart couldn't handle the energy. We warned her, but she said it was worth the risk. Reyes looked away. They're not soldiers. They're protectors, Mira said. Like me, they just don't know it yet. Suddenly, a soldier ran up from the comms building. Commander, you need to see this. Now. They rushed inside. On the central screen was a live feed from orbit. The Zyron, a fleet more massive than anything ever recorded, had arrived. Hundreds of dark ships, all surrounding a single object. A giant, silent, black cube, larger than the moon, floating above Earth. No energy readings, the technician said. No weapons visible, but it's humming, like it's alive. Mira stared at it. That's not a warship, she said. That's a trigger. A trigger for what? Reyes asked. Mira looked around the room. For us? For all of us. The next day, it began. The cube opened slowly, painfully, like a wound splitting in space from inside. Note sheets descended. Not ships, not weapons. Beings. Twice the height of a man, covered in armor that shimmered like oil in water.
No eyes.
No faces. Just a faint red glow under their hoods. Null priests, the galaxy's last. Exterminators. They touched down in 3 places. New York City, Cairo, Tokyo were the most rebirths. Had gathered, each one stood in silence as people gathered around. Then, they spoke not with mouths, but directly into the minds of everyone nearby. You have one choice, returned the awakened. Submit to the silence, or your world will be erased. People panicked. Governments hesitated. Some countries ordered their rebirths to surrender. Others tried to hide them, and some prepared to fight. Mira stood in front of her team, all 30. Awakened, all watching her, waiting. They want us to give up, she said. To kneel. To be afraid. She paused, scanning their faces. But we're not afraid anymore. She raised her hand. Flame burned in her palm, soft and blue. We were made to rise when the darkness came, not just to survive, but to end it. This is our time. No more running. One of the younger ones, a boy named Kalen, stepped forward. What if we die? Mira nodded. Some of us will, maybe most. But if we don't stand, Earth falls. Every world they silence stays silent forever. Kalen clenched his fists. Then, let's make noise. The others cheered softly. It wasn't loud, but it was real. Commander. Reyes had moved Earth's last orbital cannon into position. One shot was all they had. If it failed, there would be nothing left between the cube and the planet. Mira watched the clock. 37 minutes. That's how long she had been dead. That number followed her like a shadow. Now it was the countdown to the end. Suddenly, she dropped to her knees. Pain exploded behind her eyes. Voices screamed inside her head. Not human. Not alien. Something in between. She gripped the floor. Gasping, the same flame that marked her birth was rising again, but hotter, wilder. This time it wasn't just one voice inside her, it was thousands. All the sleeping fire from every ancient defender who had ever fallen, they were waking, and they were choosing her. The pain vanished. Mira stood, and her skin glowed like a star. She was no longer just one of the awakened. She was the signal. The Null Priests began their attack, not with weapons, but with thought. All over Earth, rebirths began to scream and collapse. Their powers turned against them. Some exploded in light. Some turned to ash. The priests were silencing them one by one. But then, they reached her, Mira, the signal. The priests spoke inside her mind. You are the root. You are the fire. Burn out and the rest will follow. She didn't answer. She just stepped outside and let it all burn. Energy exploded from her body light. Sound, memory, pain. It raced across the world, touching every rebirth. And it did something unexpected. It healed them. The broken stabilized. The unstable found balance, and those who had given up stood back up. Commander Reyes watched from the base rooftop, stunned. She just turned the tide. A soldier beside her whispered. She lit the match. Above Earth, the cube cracked. The Null Priests turned their attention to Mira, but now they saw something new. She wasn't alone anymore. Behind her, on every continent, awakened stood, ready, unified, together. Mira raised her hand to the sky and spoke one word. Now. The orbital cannon fired, so did every Earth-based energy weapon, and so did the rebirths channeling, all the stored power inside them. It hit the cube all at once. The sky turned white, then black, then quiet. For a long moment, Earth held its breath. Then the cube exploded. Shards of ancient metal rained through the atmosphere. The priests vanished in a final burst of red flame, and the silence broke. Mira collapsed again, but this time it wasn't death, it was peace. The flame inside her dimmed, but it didn't die. It simply passed on to all of them, to the future. Commander Reyes reached her side and knelt beside her. Mira opened her eyes and smiled. We did it. Reyes grinned. Yeah, we did. Mira looked up at the stars. They'll come again, she said. Maybe. Not the Zyrans, but something else. Reyes nodded. Then we'll be ready. Mira stood slowly, her body scarred, her eyes bright. We are ready. Because Earth didn't just survive, it awakened, and the galaxy was watching. The skies above Earth were finally quiet. No ships, no black cube, no. It's whispers in the dark. But the world below had changed forever. Mira stood at the edge of a cliff, overlooking what used to be the largest siren drop zone. Now, it was a crater filled. With growing trees, green was coming back. Life was healing, but peace. Peace wasn't simple. It never was. News stations across the planet were still trying to understand what had happened. Half the world didn't believe it. The other half didn't know how to move on. And everywhere Mira went, people looked at her like she was something more than human. They weren't wrong, but it still made her feel alone. Commander Reyes found her near sunset. You're not resting. She said. Mira didn't look away from the horizon. Still feels like the quiet before another storm. Reyes nodded. It always does. They stood in silence for a long moment. Then Reyes said, there's been a signal. Mira turned. From where? Not Earth. Not even the solar system. Deep space. It's weak, but repeating. Reyes handed her a small recorder. A voice played, rough, broken, not Zyran, awakened. Earth's signal confirmed. Us. Mira listened twice. Then again, another world, she said softly. Someone like us, or worse, Reyes said. A trap. Leftover trick. Mira stared at the sky. The stars were out now. They're calling us, she said. The same way the flame called me. Reyes crossed her arms. You've done more than enough for one lifetime. I'm not done, Mira said. None of us are. Behind her, others approached. Kaelin, the young girl with light hands. The man who saw echoes of time? 30 of them, strong, steady, awake. Mira turned to them. The world thinks it's safe now. But we know the truth. Silence isn't peace. It's a pause. Kaylin stepped forward. Where are we going? She smiled. Out there, to whoever sent the signal, to whoever's still fighting. We're the firewall now. We stand between the stars and the silence. One of the older rebirths asked, what if we lose? Mira looked up, her eyes glowing faintly. Then we fall loud. The ship wasn't big. Old military transport rebuilt with help from the engineers at the base, painted black and silver, covered in strange carvings from Mira's vision symbols. No one fully understood. The back ramp opened with a soft hiss. Mira turned back one last time. Earth looks so small from here, so fragile. She thought of the girl she used to be, the one who died on a metal table, screaming in the dark. That girl was gone now. She was fire. They all were. The ramp closed, engines roared, and the ship lifted. Into the sky, back on Earth, Rhea stood alone, watching the ship become a star. She whispered quietly to herself, "Good luck, Flamekeeper." Then she turned and walked into a new world, one lit by people who had once been broken, once been dead. Now burned brighter than ever. Humanity didn't survive. It evolved, and it was just getting started.